Hi there, it's Mrs. Ferris from Wood Library, and it's time to shine the spotlight on, who? Well, we're going to shine it on Farmer Brown, a character created by Teri Sloat. There are 3 books about Farmer Brown, and we're going to read all 3 of them today. Plus, we're going to make a mosquito and a sheep to go along with her books. I thought I'd tell you a little bit about Teri Sloat, the person who wrote all of these stories. She was born in Oregon, and she loved stories from day one. In fact, in her biography, it says that she thought of herself as a princess living with a king and a queen, her parents, of course. But they chose not to be in a palace. They lived with the ordinary folks. But she always loved stories. And if you ever read her biography, you would see how much fun she is and why her stories are so much fun. So our first book that we're going to start off with is called The Thing That Bothered Farmer Brown. All of her books about him are illustrated by Nadine Bernard Westcott. I'm going to scoot so you can see all the pictures. Well, the animals are bedded down. My chores are done, said Farmer Brown. And as he stretched, the sun went down. But tails and feathers swished the ground at something flying round and round with a tiny, whiny humming sound. The farmer ate his soup and bread, put on his nightshirt, climbed into bed. He pulled up the sheet in the worn-out spread, and closing his eyes, he laid down his head. But something was bothering Farmer Brown. Something was flying round and round with a tiny, whiny humming sound. Well, the farmer gave a swat at the wall that roused the horse asleep in the stall, and the weary donkey Butterball. But it didn't stop the humming at all. The old horse neighed, the donkey brayed, but the thing annoying Farmer Brown was something flying round and round with a tiny, whiny humming sound. His newspaper hit the wall with a whack. That upset the doves roosting in back, and the dairy cows marked white and black, but the humming just kept coming back. The doves cooed, the cows mooed, the old horse neighed, the donkey brayed, but the thing disturbing Farmer Brown was something flying round and round with a tiny, whiny, humming sound. The farmer gave a snap with his sheet that startled the grumpy old goat to his feet and made the hens flutter, scattering wheat, but the humming barely missed a beat. The old goat bucked, the chickens clucked, the doves cooed, the cows mooed, the old horse neighed, the donkey brayed, but the thing exhausting Farmer Brown was something flying round and round with a tiny, whiny humming sound. This time he stood still while the humming came near. He lifted his hand as it lit on his ear, gave a smack to his noggin so loud and so clear that the old dog and cat couldn't help overhear. The cat yowled, the dog howled, the old goat bucked, the chickens clucked, the doves cooed, the cows mooed, the old horse neighed, the donkey brayed, but the farmer snored. The animals slowly settled down, with heads tucked in and tails curled round. The entire farm was sleeping sound. when they heard it flying round and round, that tiny, whiny, humming sound. What do you think it was? Well, I can show you what it was. It was a mosquito. And we're going to make a mosquito. So let me get myself set up and I'll show you how. So to make our mosquito, here's what we need. We're going to be using 6 pipe cleaners. They can be any color, but I'm using black. We're going to need a straw that's a bendy straw. We're going to need some eyes, a couple of Google eyes, and a piece of parchment paper. This is something that your mom might use to bake on. And if you picked up a take and make bag from the library, you will have all these materials in it. The only thing you'll need to provide is some glue and some scissors. So the first thing we're going to want to do is bend the straw and then pick up one of your pipe cleaners. And you know how your wheels on the bus go round and round? Well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to wrap this pipe cleaner around and around our straw, starting where the bend is and going towards the back. So I'm just going to start, hold it in place with my thumb, and just wrap, wrap, wrap. Just like that. And keep on going until you've used the whole pipe cleaner. Keep it tight together if you can. But remember that if it isn't tight together while you're wrapping it, you can always push it together like that. And then take another pipe cleaner and start wrapping right where you left off with the other one, but overlap so you kind of lock it in place. And just keep wrapping. Maybe you would have mom or dad hold the straw and you could do the wrapping. Just keep on going until you get to the end, and then if you want to, squish it up a little bit more because we don't need it to be real long. So there's my 2 wrapped around. Now I'm going to pick up one more and I'm going to go back at the beginning, but instead of going down the length of the straw, I'm going to concentrate right up at the top to make a head. So I'm going to hold it in place and wrap it over and over and over on itself. So that it kind of makes a bump at the end of the, just like that. You see it's a little bit bigger there? I think I'm going to take one of my pipe cleaners, and actually the 3 that you have left, you can take all 3 of them and fold them in half. So make the 2 ends come together like that, and then squeeze it so you know where the center is, just like that, okay? And you can do that with all 3 of them. And then we'll make the legs. So ends together, squeeze it to the middle, and one more time, ends together, squeeze it back to the middle, and then you've got 3 legs. So I'm going to take one set of the legs and with my stinger part, I guess I would call it, facing that way, I'm going to put the legs over the top of it. I'm going to twist them to lock them in place. Twist them a couple of times. And then I'm going to leave about a width of a thumb and put the next one on. Oops. Put it right down to the center. Give a twist or 2. There. And then the last one is going to go a little bit away from the end. So I'm going to put it down like that. Twist it underneath a couple of times. And there I've got my 3 sets of legs. Now they look kind of long, don't they? So I'm going to take each one and bend it. One on one side and one on the other, like that. And I'll do the same with the next one. One up, and the other side too. And then the last set of legs. Bend up, and then like that. And at that point, you should be able to stand up, kind of. Now, you don't need the back part. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use about my thumb to measure. And I'm going to cut it off, but I'm going to cut it off at a V, pointing away from his head. Okay. So if I turn him around so I have the back of the mosquito looking at me, I'm going to be cutting from about there. I can just cut that off. Just like that. And then I'm going to cut it with a V, and you can kind of flatten it out. Just like that. Okay. Put those out of the way. And then we're almost ready. What does he need? He needs some eyes, and he needs some wings. So I'm going to use some glue. You can use an Elmer's glue. I like a liquid glue for this rather than a glue stick because it'll hold it in place a little better. So I'm just going to put 2 dots of glue right on the head. I think my glue is dried a little bit here. Let's see if I can get it. There we go. So can you see that I have 2 drops of glue? And then I will take the googly eyes and stick them on there. Ooh, keeps jumping away. There, like that. And then he needs some wings. So for his wings, I'm going to use that parchment paper. And if you want, you can use a marker or a pencil to kind of draw a shape. I like to think of it as kind of like an 8. Kind of something that looks like that. So I'm going to, I can draw it on, or I can just eyeball and cut it, but I think for you, you ought to have somebody draw it. And I don't have a pencil here, so I'm just going to kind of trace over this a little bit smaller because of the size of my parchment paper. Marker's just about ready to be thrown out. But can you see I did something that looks like an 8? And then I'm going to cut that out using my scissors. You could use regular paper for the wings, but I think the parchment paper makes it look a little bit more like a real mosquito wing. Okay, tuck that off to the side. So there's my wing shape. I'm just going to fold it a little bit, so I don't know if you can see how I'm doing that, but the part in the center where there was a little bit of flat, I folded it on each side of that flat, straight connecting piece. And then I'll put my glue right there and glue my wings on. Before I do, let's see here. I'm going to straighten my wings out just a little bit. They were on a roll, so they are kind of wanting to curl one way. All right, then I'm going to put a little bit of glue right in that center part again. just like that, and glue it right between the first two sets of legs. So not right in the very front, but right behind that. Glue it right on the center. Now it'll take a little bit of time to dry, but there's my mosquito. So if your mosquito is all done, what you can do is, well, you can make him hum just by humming through him. Well, I'm going to clear things up and then get ready for another story. Our second book about Farmer Brown is called Farmer Brown Shears His Sheep, a yarn about wool. Did you know wool comes from sheep? It does. Farmer Brown was shearing sheep, piling up a snowy heap of wool that filled his shed knee-deep. Clip, clip, buzz, buzz, he took their wool and left them fuzz. He filled his bags up one by one with fleece, but when his work was done, the clouds had covered up the sun. The sheep saw all their wool in sacks. Bah! They cried, "We want it back!" Soon the farmer's sheep were shivering. They followed him. He was delivering all their wool to Mr. Green, who washed it out and combed it clean. Comb, pull, he cleaned and carded all their wool. Their fleece made such a fluffy stack. Bah! They cried, "We want it back!" The sheep went running cold and shaking behind the farmer. He was taking all their wool to Mr. Peel, who owned the finest spinning wheel. Twist, hum, what had their fluffy fleece become? Well, from fleece to yarn, it stretched and changed. Bah! They cried, "Our wool looks strange." Chilly sheep with goosebumps crying rode right behind the farmer, flying down the road to Mrs. Muller, who changed the yarn from white to color. Dip, dye, drip, dry. The yarn grew bright before their eyes, and while it dried upon the rack, one sheep cried, "Bah! Let's take it back." "What's this?" the farmer asked his sheep. "You're all tangled from head to feet. You're shivering cold and turning blue." So back to Farmer Brown's they flew. He found his favorite place to sit. Then Farmer Brown began to knit. Knit, purl, the farmer's fingers looped and twirled, crowded on the porch together, trembling in the nippy weather. They watched him knit, and when he quit, he put a sweater on to fit each sheep and then buttoned it. The sheep grew nice and warm again in brightly colored cardigans, in patterns made of red and green and all the colors in between. What colors do you see? There's the red, purple, pink, green, blue, yellow, orange. Now each year comes shearing time. The sheep wait eagerly in line to feel the clip and hear the buzz and wear bright sweaters over fuzz. Well, we're going to make a sheep together now and make one so that you can shear it and see what it looks like without having all that wool. So I'll get ready. Here's what we need to make our sheep. I have a pattern, a small paper plate, a white oval that's going to be the sheep's head, and I gave everyone some ears and a little bit of fluff to go on the top. There are 2 Google eyes and about 9 cotton balls. Looks like I've got 8 here. From home, you're going to want to have some scissors and glue stick and probably some liquid glue like Elmer's glue or tacky glue. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your pattern and you're going to fold that in half. And when you do, fold it like that. Those lines that were drawn on there will be right at the crease. And then I want you to cut around the outside of that. Do not cut the fold, because what you're going to want to make is something that looks like this, a sheep that can stand up. So go ahead and cut it out. Now that my sheep is all cut out, I'm going to put the head together. So I've got that circle and the ears and the little fluffy part to go on the top. So I can use my glue stick on that and just put some glue on it. I'm going to have my ears go kind of up in the air. So I'll do it just like this. Okay, you see that? And then I'm going to use my liquid glue to put the eyes on. Just put a dot for each one of them. And then pop those Google eyes on. Like that. Then take your pattern that you cut out and you're going to want to put the head of your sheep right there. So I'm going to look and see where that overlapped, and that's where I'm going to put my glue. And again, you can use the glue stick or the liquid glue for this part. And if you want to draw a nose on your sheep, you can. Next, I'm going to take my paper plate. I'm just going to set that aside while the eyes dry. And I'm going to fold it in half. Just press down and fold it. Just like that. And this is going to go on the sheep. So I'm going to want to cut off some of the front of it. So I'm going to look and see where that would be. And I think I'm going to cut just about to there because I want his face to be able to come through. So I'm going to draw a light line. Again, if I had a pencil, I would do it that way, but just draw a faint line, about like that. And then I'm going to cut that part off. And then put it on and just see how it fits. I think that looks pretty good, don't you? Fits right on there. So I'm going to take that away. And then I'm going to use my liquid glue to put the cotton balls on the sheep. So I'm just going to put some dabs of it on. This might be a teamwork project where you could get the cotton balls and mom and dad can put the glue on, and then I'm just going to stick my cotton balls right on there. I think I need a little more glue there. Just like that. Let that dry. And then You can put that right on your sheep. I think his eye dripped out a little bit. There we go. And there's my woolly sheep. And when Farmer Brown comes around to shear that sheep, all he's going to do is go zip, zip, zip. And there's my sheep, all shorn. And over the year, it can grow right back, just like that. So are you ready for one more story about Farmer Brown? Our last book is called Farmer Brown Goes Round and Round. Things are looking pretty good down on the farm. There's Farmer Brown. The pigs are in the mud. The horse and the donkey are in the barn. I bet the cows are coming home. There's that billy goat. He's eating something right off of the line. And the chickens are there too. The dog and cat are snoozing on the porch. All looks fine. My chores are done, said Farmer Brown. The air was filled with happy sounds. A purring cat, a snoring hound, pigs that oinked, cows that mooed, sheep that baaed and doves that cooed, hens that clucked while donkey brayed, goats that neighed, a mare that neighed, his bossy little rooster who crowed a cock-a-doodle-doodle-doo. But then he heard a rumbling sound that made his smile turn upside down. Farmer Brown heard thunder drumming, lightning flashed, the air was humming. Look out, he cried, a twister's coming. A black cloud raced across the ground, the twister's tail came dancing down and whisked the rooster, cat, and hound into the air with Farmer Brown. While clouds of sheep swirled through the air, the clothesline chased the goat and mare until each one had on a pair of Farmer Brown's plaid underwear. The twister roared, the twister grew, horns and hooves and white wool blew, round snouts and tails all curly-cued, while fur and feet and feathers flew. Frightened pigs sailed on their backs. On the backs of dairy cows marked white and black, hens laid eggs when thunder cracked. They hit the farmer with a smack. Then once they all were spinning round, the wind just stopped and dropped them down. The farmer landed safe and sound. His animals were all around, but cows oinked. The pigs mooed. His sheep clucked, the cat cooed, the mare howled, his hens brayed, the goats meowed, his hound neighed, the donkey gnawed and ate the towel, the doves baaed, the farmer scowled. What's wrong with you? He tried to shout, but cock-a-doodle-doo came out. Oh no, they're all mixed up, aren't they? Well, the next thing the farmer knew, he heard his bossy rooster who was telling him what he should do. You have to milk the mooing sows and slop the muddy oinking cows. Go check the nests the sheep have made and gather any eggs they've laid. Do sheep lay eggs? Get the shirt the donkey's chewing. Give birdseed to the cat he's cooing. Take the baaing doves to pasture. Feed the hound his oats. Work faster. Pet the goats, they keep meowing. Throw the mare her bone. She's howling. Hitch the hens up. Plow the ground. The rooster frowned. What is that sound? Up in the sky, the lightning cracked. The wind blew hard. The clouds grew black. The rooster yelled, the twister's back. Another twister roared and grew, horns and hooves and white wool blew, all the tails on curly-cued, while fur and feet and feathers flew. But when the twister dropped them down, the cat meowed. And soon the hound was barking at familiar sounds. The pigs oinked, the cows mooed, the sheep baaed, the doves cooed. Hens clucked, the donkey brayed, the goats gnawed, the mare neighed, and the rooster cock-a-doodle-doo. The farmer said, "Oh, enough from you. It looks like I've got work to do." And soon the place was good as new, except on days when strong winds blew. Then neighbors heard the farmer who crowed, "Cock-a-doodle-doodle-doo!" And those are the stories about silly Farmer Brown. I hope you enjoyed them, and thank you for joining us for a little bit of, well, Spotlight on Farmer Brown and Friends.